Hi, folks. Welcome to the OKD Community Development Meeting for January 24th of the year 2023. And let's take a quick look at the agenda. I think we got the link dropped in the channel, or I can drop it in the channel, and take a quick look at it and let us know if there's anything that you'd like to add or remove or move around. We'll take about 30 seconds to look at that and just make sure it aligns with what folks want to talk about. All right. Yes, please add your names to the attendance sections so that we know you were here or not here, as the case may be, as Bruce pointed out. That lets us know if there's some important bit of information that we need to get to you that you maybe weren't here at the meeting. We can make sure you get it, or make sure that we know who is here so that we can have further discussions. All right, let's jump into the first item. Technical documentation. Dwayne or Luigi on SNO, do you have any update on that?
Yeah. Yeah, go Dwayne, go.
Yes, it's still in progress. I'm still working on some things to smooth out and refine, but I'm going to put some attention on it to try to give you a major update by the next time. Okay,
that'd be great. Yeah, just let us know, and because it's a learning process, like documenting the stuff that you're experiencing, that to get you to the point to be able to do this, I think is helpful as well, right?
Okay, that sounds great.
So we have a work in progress document. I don't know if I should share it here.
No, you can wait. You can wait until you've brushed it up a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because it does need. You're right. It does need brushing up. So it's all our, the thoughts and process that we have. So
sure,
it's a Word document, so it should be fine to share later on.
Excellent. In terms of Tecton, I'm still working on that, and am at the point where probably we'll be able to finish up, I think, after maybe the next week or so, and then I'll run that by the group, and then we can put it up as a blog post once folks are happy with that. Any other stuff on technical documentation? And we will talk a little bit more about install docs later on in the meeting. There was a news or an item that folks want to talk about. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I know I need to, Brian went over the make docs thing to do updates to OKD. And I know I need to work on that. So I was trying to do a glossary and maybe make it kind of SNO-ish, but also, sometimes if you want to use the page to cite it for a publication or anything, we may need to proof it, make sure it has, sentences and a few links or things that we want, the world to know about us, So, that's one comment. I'll try to go through the documentation again, and because, the whole world's looking at us. So we want to, the world is moving with all these buzzwords. And sometimes the buzzwords is all they want to hear,
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Well, and so were you able to, have you done a commit yet to get something up on the website? Have you gone through the process start to finish?
Brian gave me a introduction, and I guess SNO took over. But
well, that's fine. Let us know if you need anything further, though, because we'd love to have someone else up to speed on being able to do commits to the website and help manage that. So for sure.
Yes, I need to work on it so I'm proficient. So
excellent, very cool. And yes, the whole world is looking at. Someone even put in a discussion in the GitHub about how the videos hadn't been posted. Someone actually was like, "You haven't posted any videos from January yet," and I was like, "Okay, I'll post those." But that was great, actually, because and I'm involved with community radio. One of the things we learn in radio is that for every person that calls in to the radio station,
Mhm.
they represent a number of people who are too shy or too busy or whatever to call in. So for every person that comments, hey, I'm looking for, the video of the meetings, there's probably more people who are as well. So people are actually paying attention to what's going on here for sure. Yeah. All right, up next, Diane isn't here. The issue I ran into is I cannot verify that I can get into the Google Mail, the OKD mail account, so that we can have those aliases forwarded there. I know I have the email account, but the verification is a number that's not mine, and I don't know if it's Diane's. Luigi, have you ever gone into like the Gmail client to actually look at the mail?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't.
Okay, so I'm going to
yeah,
assume that
I-
that's
yeah,
I'm going to
tried,
assume
but
that
I
that's
couldn't get in.
okay. So I'm going to assume that that's Diane's phone number,
Yeah,
and so I'll
exactly.
need to synchronize with her to be able to verify access so that I can add it to mine. So I'll do that, and then once we can verify that at least one or two of us can get in to the Gmail account, then I will forward the email with the aliases to the folks from OSPO to set up the
Cool.
email aliases. Yeah, I didn't want to do it and have like Diane get bombarded without us being able to actually access the emails. Anything else on email hosting? Any other feedback on that? Any thoughts? Okay, moving right along then. Social media. Well, Miko isn't here, but I was going to ask folks, what are the next steps? What do we want to do for Mastodon? He had suggested a couple of servers that he thought were good, like one of them, which had a lot of open source projects. Do we want to just next time he's here, select one? His document, actually, if you look at the meeting notes previous, provides a list of suggested servers. Do we want to just pick one and set it up and go from there? Like he said, he'd be able to provide some guidance, but he is busy. So we would need a volunteer to sort of shadow him to make sure that they understand sort of how things were set up to get us on the Mastodon server. Anyone?
Well, I do have some Mastodon interest, but it's like, I guess you just got to jump into it and do it. And this may not be perfect, but you just keep going, and I guess that's always the hesitation, right? But I think I read something today. It says, if you're terrible at something, that's good, because then you're on your way to becoming average at it, something like that. So
sure, yeah. Well, everything that's a mistake you learn from, right? Ideally, right? For sure. All right. Well, maybe we'll get two people.
Jamie?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I guess one question, is this actually replacing anything?
No,
Because
the idea is
we do seem to be
test it.
adding in, because
Well,
there's the matrix.
Yeah, so he
thing
came up with
that,
Elmiko suggested a tool that allows you to cross-post across services. So I think what we're going to do is try to utilize that tool, see if it works, and go from there, right? So it posts on Twitter and on Mastodon, and I think you can do some other social media platforms.
So the hope is we get more visibility.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Like
It's one of the
I don't
things
have the
that
problem with it, but it's not totally clear to me what problem we're solving.
So a lot of people are bailing on Twitter. And things that I've read show that there's more engagement on Mastodon with like inter-community engagement, like people with special interests and whatever, and a lot of geeks are going, quite frankly, to Mastodon, right? Because of the geekiness of it. So if we want to make the project prominent or keep the project prominent and reach out to new volunteers, we have to somewhat try to reach them in the mediums in which they're in, I think. I don't know, what do other people think?
What's our measure of success then?
Engagement, like some reasonable level of engagement, I think.
Yeah,
like Twitter right now, we don't have any engagement on Twitter. We have like one or two people forwarding the tweets, but that's it. And one of those people is me forwarding it from my personal account, right?
And
Yeah,
I,
but
I
we
know
haven't really
it
gone
for
with it.
those who deleted my Twitter account.
Right. See, and that's an example. A lot of people just sort of bailed on it because of the stuff going on. So, you know, ideally we post to both using this tool and find out, you know, how things shake out over time. Does that sound reasonable, Bruce, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, well, I think that it's because this is about the third or fourth sort of social media suggestion that I've heard.
Yeah.
You know, like Neil had something that he was on fire about, and I made an account and went there, and nothing happened.
Oh, the Matrix. Yeah, right. Yeah.
The Matrix thing, and as I say, I don't have an intrinsic problem with it, but it does take up spare cycles of which we don't have a whole lot.
Sure.
So I think it's great to experiment, but it's especially great if we, you know, maybe a year later we say, okay, well, evaluate.
Right.
And see whether the experiment was useful or not. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I think that's valid. And I think we're starting the year, so we could at end of year look back on this and say, okay, has this been valid? Yeah. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, there's a lot of churn in that space right now. So it is kind of a situation where if you want a presence, you just throw something at everything and literally see what sticks. Now, saying that, I'm one of the worst users of social media platforms because I don't engage with them. So my opinion didn't count for much.
Well, but I think that that's also representative of some of the people use it. Some people may not be engaging. And then so it's like, well, okay, how do we reach out to the people that maybe want to participate or that we could at least recruit once we explain to them some of the stuff we need in the community? If they're not on social media, how do we reach them? You know?
Yeah. It may be that GitHub and Slack are where most of our folks are.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think GitHub would be an ideal place, but I mean, that, you know, how do you broadcast messages there to everybody? But yeah, for example, I don't have any social media. Only thing I have is LinkedIn because I have to do it for Red Hat.
Right.
No Facebook, no Twitter, no Mastodon, nothing. I don't have any apps on my phone. Nothing. Just stay away from it. You know.
All right. Any other thoughts before we move on? Okay, Bruce, we'll put a note in that we'll try this for a year and then we will revisit. I think that's a great idea. So that's a good point. Prioritization. Okay, so operators. I had a chat with Vadim after the last, or actually it started during, but it led after the last working group meeting. And so the operator catalog project stalled within Red Hat due to management reprioritization. He wants to get it going again, but would benefit from other folks contributing. I mentioned that at the working group meeting, folks were volunteering to reach out to operator maintainers for discussion. So I'm reaching out to Christian. I started a little bit of discussion with him the other day. And then I'm also involved. I went to the Tecton operators meeting Thursday, but apparently because the OpenShift pipelines release was Wednesday, no one showed up to the meeting on Thursday because they were like, yeah, our work is done now for the week, you know. So but this week apparently they'll start having like a, you know, a meeting that's attended and that there's stuff to be done. So we've got Tecton covered and GitOps covered, and then Elmiko was going to check with Windows operator, and I think that we landed on those three to start out with, to gather information about, you know, maintaining, you know.
Yeah, so Vadim, earlier this week, which I guess would have been yesterday, because today is Tuesday. Yeah. So yesterday, Vadim pinged me early in the morning with a catalog source that he had created, which includes Tecton, Rook, Ceph, and the local volume operator. I spun up a cluster and tested that real quick, and it works. So it looks like he's at the point now, since last year, of actually having something working.
Nice.
That if we could get some folks around, there may be a rinse and repeat pattern that we could get going now.
I like that. All right.
And I'll also we're working on our team is working on the OC Mirror plugin for OpenShift, and we've got a work in progress with IBM, and they have the use case where they create a catalog on disk in OCR format, and it's for their Cloud Pak support. And that would be interesting. I'd really like to get hold of their tooling, but they're a bit closed about the tooling they use. Because imagine this, creating a catalog that is totally by hand. Obviously, I mean, they have some good tooling to do it. But the thing is, you've got it on disk. And once you're happy with it, then you push the catalog, the bundles, the operators, related images, all into a specific registry, and that then could be accessed within OpenShift. So it's something I really want to look into, but as I said, I think they're a bit closed about the tooling. But if we can get our hands on tooling like that, it'd be really, really helpful for us to look at building catalogs from scratch type of thing.
I like it. Well, whatever you can do without breaking NDA, we're happy to hear about it. And what was the project again that you were mentioning, the plugin that
It's OC Mirror. So
OC Mirror.
So you go there's an OC admin mirror where you can mirror in disconnected installs. So we have a plugin that bypasses the admin part. So you go OC Mirror, and then you can use it directly. And so you can do air-gapped installs. And we're busy with reading from OCR in OCR form of file-based catalogs and pushing it to remote registry.
Excellent. All right. Well, that's helpful. All right, so we'll touch base with Vadim between now and the working group meeting, find out what the status is, and I'm sure Brian will show up to that meeting and will be ecstatic, or at least mildly ecstatic, because he's really been pushing this, and for good reason. It's really a key thing to OKD adoption. So, and okay, standardization and automation for community activities. I said, let's break this down, because someone threw that out as a prioritization for Q1 2023. What areas of standardization and automation should we be looking at?
I think standards such as cybersecurity and automation are always going to be just critical. People want speed and they want it securely. But the other thing is there's almost a literacy thing you have to push to get them to understand what OKD is, while we're moving away from monolithic infrastructure. And it's like a bridge to get them to appreciate S&O, and that's I think is a critical way, so they would appreciate the standardization and the automation, so they would be believers in it,
Mm-hmm. What are some of the tasks in the community that we could automate? Some things that we do now, or some things that we could automate in such a way that other people would be able to participate in the community by participating in that automation, or by triggering that automation?
Well, I think the first thing is, I think you got to give them an experience that is not automated first, so they can appreciate the automation, ironically, because just so they can appreciate the struggle and see the time savings, because that's the real key to selling the automation. Once they can see that, wow, this repetitive task, you saved me and I'm going, I think that's a serious value add.
What about in terms of administering the community, like the work that we do, as opposed to like spinning up clusters and whatnot? What are things that we do that we could automate? Is there anything that we do in our processes of managing this group, leading this group, that could be automated?
Well, maybe a breakdown, of the steps in the bridge, especially maybe an SNO, the proxy, the DNS, so they can get that experience and they lose their fear of these things.
No, so what I'm thinking is, in terms of what we do as the working group, not in terms of installing OpenShift, but in terms of the things that we do to run this group, what can be automated? And I think that's what was meant when someone added that agenda item.
Okay, well, maybe being able to just a formal process to reach out to different communities and to convince them that this is the proper way to go. Maybe a protocol to say, hey,
I like that. Right.
We reach out this and that's what I was getting to, where when we come to our website, I can cut and paste and send it out, and whatever response we can, have a standard way to try to manage it, because we want them to be our repeat customers in a sense.
I like that. So basically a template of responding or a template of cutting in that we can cut and paste into things of, to contact the OKD working group, blah, 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 to do this, blah, 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 find us on Twitter, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I like it. Yeah. Diane. Hello, our friend.
Got to find the unmute button to say hello. Good morning.
See, all that you retire from Red Hat and now you can't even find the unmute button.
Yeah, I know. So anyways, apologies for my late arrival. Had some computer issues. So
we're happy to see you.
I was mostly curious because I hadn't seen Luigi whether we got the release out.
No, we were blocked.
Any notes, so yeah.
Yeah, we were blocked. I had to create everything has to be logged in Jira, so I created a ticket. I'll forward you all the details. Yeah, we tried. We really did.
All right. Do you have an ETA for it?
At the moment, no, because there's one outstanding issue with Colin and Vadim. There is
the same one as before?
Yeah, the registries can't read accessibility on the mode on the registries conf file, so that it could be read, and that's not causing the OKD when we try and build, when we build it and then we try and create a cluster from the build, it doesn't boot. So that's one of the problems. So yeah, we have to wait on Vadim and Colin. It's out of our hands.
Okay, so that gives me even more time to write the template blog post for the release.
Yeah.
Okay, not to worry. I'm just
No,
listening. Yeah.
We have been giving it out because of the fact that it's now within, in OpenShift we have the 4.next. So every sprint there's a release, and so now it's been tracked by the higher orders within Red Hat. So we have to they want to know now, why is this not working? So there's this chain of command now, but basically we'll be on it, and hopefully by next week or so we'll have a way to build a release. Well, actually I successfully built SCOS today, because that was held back. So we've got an SCOS build that is now being pushed to Pro, and then they will run a test on it, and then straight after that we'll see if we can get that PR landed with Colin. And once that's done, then we'll be able to test and boot from SCOS.
Okay, cool. So I haven't looked at.
Oh,
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say I hadn't looked at the agenda, so I don't want to disrupt the process here, as I always do.
No, you're doing fine. And there's a couple of things I want to riff off of, actually. Luigi, maybe you can answer this. I was somewhat surprised to, I think Vadim said in a communication to someone else, is the SCOS getting built from FCOS? Like you're starting with an FCOS image and then using that and the assembler within it to create the SCOS? Is that how it's being done?
So no, we have an assembler for SCOS. So there is a
Right.
repo that we pull from SCOS. Now, whether, to be honest, I mean, I'm not in Timothy's team. Whether they've actually inherited everything from FCOS, I don't know. But I think there's a strong
Okay.
possibility there is.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's got its own repo, and then there's obviously RPMs. There's 3 RPMs really that we pull from the artifacts. It's the OC client, kubelet, and there was one other one I can't remember, but those are the basic 3 RPMs that we really use, and then the rest is from the SCOS.
What you might be thinking of, Jamie, is a conversation that I think I started about installing an SCOS based cluster. It actually does boot first with FCOS and then pivots to
That might
stream.
be it. Okay, that might be it. Yeah, interesting. Okay. We just spotted your little friend, Charo, run out of the room.
Yes, I think Wendy just got home and they all took off.
All right. So I think next up then is our after SNO. So SNO is being worked on. I'm working on the Tecton doc. What other install docs do we need? What are we lacking? We talked about bare metal, and we talked about needing to define what bare metal was. And isn't there a Red Hat, Luigi or Charo, maybe you know this, isn't there a new word that's being used instead of bare metal coming out of Red Hat? Didn't they start using a different terminology?
I must be honest, I haven't heard anything new on my side.
Okay.
So I don't know, maybe Charo, you know.
Okay, because I had heard that bare metal was complicated as a terminology, so that there was discussion of, and some of the docs were starting to reflect a different word. I don't remember who mentioned that, but or a different word was used to reflect like what this was. So is bare metal still a doc that's like, through the research that Dwayne did, that appeared to be the case? We're lacking in bare metal out there on the web. There's a lot of chatter about bare metal in the channels. Is that reflective of the next doc that we need? Is something that reflects, bare metal installs, i.e. with, virtualization? And who wants to do it, if it is? Or is there some other install doc that you think is missing, that you've heard in terms of, chatter in the channels or in communications with people or anything like that?
Well, I can look into bare metal and see, can I find that center now?
Yeah, I think a glossary entry would be useful, because presumably one of the first things you do with bare metal is you install an operating system on it.
Right.
And at that point, it's no longer bare metal, and you can use all the other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So like with the stuff that Charo's doing, he does a Pixie boot. And that, and the target of the Pixie boot looks very much like a bare metal thing.
Yeah.
But somehow his stuff is not bare metal.
Well, no, it is bare metal, because what the machine boots is Fedora Core OS with an ignition config. So the machine itself installs Fedora Core OS and becomes part of the cluster, as opposed to the other bare metal, which is where you're using a hypervisor, but you're not using a managed hypervisor like Overt or VMware.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can reignite my glossary effort, because this is always a great conversation I have when I'm looking up, because some people define it here, some people define it this way. This would be great if we set the tone and set the definitions of everything.
Yeah, Dwayne, I think that'd be really helpful, because I think that will help us also in our conversations here in the group, is really what are we talking about and what do we want to communicate out to the public. So if you could put a little effort into that over the coming weeks, I think that would be like super helpful.
Yeah, it's probably a distinction between bare metal and user provisioned infrastructure.
Right.
Of which bare metal is a subset.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
The UPI, so that's the document we covering on, but it's for single node UPI install, going through all the nitty gritty. And it's more of an educational thing that people who don't know DNS or are not sure about it or don't know how to set up a HA proxy, and why we need HA proxy for load balancing, so on and so forth, all that stuff. So it's trying to make it as comprehensive as possible, and that's the problem, because you think, oh, what about this? What about this? What about so you're always adding on. It's difficult.
Well, at some point you have to let it go and
Just pull the
yeah.
trigger. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
No perfection here.
Right, exactly. Okay, so it sounds like let's get the glossary thing going the next couple of weeks. Then we can have a conversation about what do we mean for bare metal and the different facets of it. And then from there, decide what documentation. And if folks could put your ear to the ground in terms of the chat channels, email lists you're on, the repo discussions, any of those things, try to get a sense of what it is that people are asking for. What are the questions that people are asking? And then that lets us know what the community needs as well, right? If you get a question more than once or twice, like I saw someone actually just asking earlier today in the channel, Slack channel, about, bringing up FCOS nodes with the payload, with the node configuration in the payload itself in the butane, and we don't actually have any documentation on that, I don't think, anywhere. So that might be something also to look at, once we start delving into bare metal and whatnot. Okay, let's see where we at here. OKD on the edge. Well, I don't know that we know anywhere where to start with that yet. Does anyone have any thoughts on?
Well, in doing the SNO UPI, it kind of like keeps slapping you in the face. And it's like, there's even more glossary terms. I mean, I was wrestling with the concept. I was looking up research, the STL, they are a Red Hat partner, and they were using the term on-premise at site or edge site. I was like, oh my God, that's deep. and then their documentation, they're talking about RAN, ORAN, a little VRAN, and I'm like, my God, it just doesn't stop. And I'm like, but trying to define the use cases and making sure we have some verbiage for the use cases I think is critical. And so it's almost like after you get the glossary, then maybe that'll map to use cases somehow, because I'm like, man, but that gets to how you're going to sell it, which is, that which would be great for OpenShift,
Edge is one of those things that doesn't really have an industry definition. And if it does, the industry definition is probably something like very small piece of hardware on a crappy network.
Yeah. Or no network at all,
Right, or no network at all. Yeah.
You do the USB transfer,
Little computer out in the middle of nowhere. That's Edge.
Right.
And
Cool.
in most cases, Edge means snow. That it's single node OpenShift,
right.
Running on a little device that's shoved in a closet somewhere. Other definitions of it, Edge is snow on ARM.
Right.
Yeah.
Which we don't have yet.
Yeah, and that was the other thing is that I once probably at the next meeting, once Christian is there, I want to get some clarity on the ARM situation so that we know where that's going, because a couple of people have asked for that recently, sort of an update.
Alessandro was going to join last week and give us an update. He's been working on the pipeline to build ARM for OKD. I think he's making really good progress, but there are one or two holdbacks. But the problem is he has a conflicting meeting at the same time. So I've asked him maybe next week if he could make it and just give us an update.
If not, maybe he could just record something and share it with us, or
Yeah, good suggestion. Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell him.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you. All right. That brings us down to the bottom of the agenda. Is there anything else that folks want to talk about in terms of community development? We're a little bit short-staffed today, so we didn't, we didn't really fill out as much of the information that we had hoped to, but I think we got a good start of some places. So focus on, our glossary of terms. Diane, I need you to verify on your phone. I'm assuming that the number that pops up for getting
Yeah.
into the Gmail account is yours.
Yeah,
You
so
mind-
I've done that. So it's just for that OKDIO 2022
Yeah,
one. Yeah,
Right, yeah.
just did that. So that should be done.
Oh. Okay. Let me
So
see.
what else? Were there other email addresses that you were setting up that you needed me to verify, or?
No. Just that I just needed to verify that you to click the yes so that I can get into the Gmail, because I didn't want to send the alias list off to OSPO until I was sure that someone other than you can get into the actual Gmail account. So
Okay, so so you why don't I think what
we'll
you
just
should
stay
be able
on when the meeting's done, and we'll
to try it out. It should work now.
Okay.
Otherwise,
All
I'm
right.
text messages.
Yeah. Anything else, folks?
I think, when we say what's most important for Q1 23, I guess I'm always thinking about, the whole year 2023, and where, I think the transition to where OKD becomes an upstream to OpenShift is really, really amazing. And it's like, wow. And it's, that's a lot, because the Red Hat Summit coming up, and that's some pressure, and it's like to get there and not burn out is it's just a lot of quite a transition.
Well, pace yourself, my friend. Pace yourself. So, and that's why community engagement to get more volunteers is so important, because we don't want this resting, because you're volunteering all the time to do stuff, and we've got other folks that are volunteering a lot. We need more volunteers. We need more people involved, so that so that the folks that are currently in the group don't burn out, right? And that we can be successful. So. Cool.
There was one thing I wanted to ask while Diane's still around, is what about getting cool OKD swag, like t-shirts and stickers, that type of thing?
I think we need some, and maybe this first stable release is a good way to do something that rewards everybody on the OKD Working Group, and put something in the cool stuff store so that we can give it to people as they do wonderful things for us. So we do have the logo and everything still available. I have a call right after this one with Karina Angel, who is now leading up the OpenShift Commons stuff, and I can ask her to work with me to do something. Is there, there's always, and of course I'm wearing my t-shirt from this one. There's always t-shirts. But the problem with t-shirts is their sizes. So you have to stock sizes and stuff. I always think toques, as we say in Canada, but knitted caps or baseball caps are sort of the safest things to get done, because everybody, adjustable head sizes kind of thing. So
Everyone has a head. Yeah.
Most everyone has a head. All right. So that's what I would say. There you go. There's a Quarkus head there. And and everyone has hat hair, so hair head or bed head or whatever. So there's a need for hats. So I would
coffee mugs are also good. Like coffee mugs.
The coffee mugs we order through the Schwag store. I usually do tin cups. You put them through the dishwasher once, and whatever the logo was on it washes right off. I have a beautiful set of white tin mugs that were all OpenShift that are now in my camper. So I wouldn't recommend that. And they also weigh a lot, and the boxy. So shipping them, you can't flat pack them and just send them to people. So there's always the shipping consideration. So, so far, unless it's something where we're going to an event and we can physically bring it with us, the flatter, the better. And I'm not a fan of scarves. I have too many scarves from the CNCF, but that's the other thing that's flat. If you think of something else, the other thing is like a notebook, like the Red Hat notebooks that people write notes in it.
Mhm.
Those are nice. I kind of think the toque is something that people will wear at conferences, even if they live in warm climates, because they're hipster things, or baseball hats. But yeah, so definitely that. Let me see if I can figure out how to machinate that. And maybe we could time it with this stable release of OKD to celebrate having 3 things, an advanced one, the 4.13 release, 4.12, for both FCOS and SCOS.
Nice.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
feels a good thing.
One more thing, Diane, if you're having a meeting with her after this, could you have her reach out to us? We've had multiple people try to reach out to her to get her to come to a meeting here to sort of like, you know, do what you do a little bit, but she hasn't responded to my
Yeah.
emails or anyone else that's
So-
reached out to her.
So I kind of, I'll just set the stage here. I kind of did a separation of duties with asking Luigi to take on that, and Karina to take on Commons, because having done it for 10 years, let me just tell you, it's not something one person should get lumped with. So for things like branding and connectivity to branding stuff, Luigi can reach out to Karina and stuff, but she may or may not want to be involved in OKD. She's in doing all the CNCF liaison stuff as
Yeah, I
well.
saw
where
that.
she's
Yeah.
doing- she got a big chunk put on her. So I'm just saying,
Okay.
don't feel
So
bad
ask
that she's
Luigi
not
is
coming.
what you're saying.
Yeah.
Use
Reach
Luigi,
out
make-
to Luigi. Yeah.
But Diane, I think it was more of a just come along and just introduce and tell us what you do.
Right. It was
so
more
that
of a,
we
yeah.
put a name
Yeah.
to a face. And
Let me see if
and-
I can get her to come next week, so you get a face to go with the name, and
Yes, that's it.
that would be
Yeah,
cool.
it's not that we're saying, oh, we want you to do A, B, and
Right.
C. We just want to
Yeah.
meet her and get to know what actually she does and what,
Yeah.
you know, what her passions and interests are.
Because
Yeah.
in terms of events, she will be the person that we interact with, correct?
for getting into OpenShift Commons events and Red
Yeah.
Hat Summit events, yes.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, I was just going to ask, ScaleX is happening soonish in California. I think it's Los Angeles area. Is anyone thinking of going to that? No? Okay. No one's going. I'll come to next week's meeting with more details, but I think I can get a couple free passes to it. I don't know if anyone from our world is in that vicinity. So that was what was
Awesome.
gonna, I forgot, and now I remembered. So there you go. All right. Well, wonderful to see you all. And Chara, yeah, shock horror, I'm retiring. It's the slowest retirement ever, so don't worry, I'm here at least until May 1st. And at most until May 1st. How's that? My partner's over there, and if I delay retirement one more time, I might get shot. So anyways, and Bruce, I might actually have time to come into the city and have a coffee with you sometime. So hey.
Nice.
Yeah, love
All
it.
right, well, let's, oh, go ahead.
Just let me know anytime you're, or, you know, I think we've got our emails
Yep.
probably somewhere. So,
Oh yeah, cool.
although, is your Red Hat email still going to be valid?
Yeah, until May 1st, and then after that, probably not. We'll see. I hope so. I hope it's not valid. I don't want to be. I love
They're
you
gonna
all.
give you an emeritus.
Something
You're
like
gonna
that.
be
Right.
Something like that. I keep trying, but it doesn't take. Anyways, I'm gonna let you guys all go so I can check in with Jamie here what this last thing is about the email, so we make sure he can get in. And take care, everybody. And Luigi, just let me know when you get a release. I do answer.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Emeritus.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
Take care.